The UK and Germany have announced a new treaty that will aid a wider post-Brexit reset between the two countries as well as the EU. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who is on his first bilateral trip since taking office last month, has described it as a once-in-a-generation chance to deliver for working people in Britain and in Germany.
This treaty is part of a wider reset, grounded in a new spirit of cooperation, with our shared understanding that this will be developed at pace and that we hope to have agreed it by the end of the year.
It is also important for us to further develop relations between the European Union and Great Britain. I am delighted that Keir Starmer has announced that he will seek a fresh start in relations with the European Union. We want to grab this extended hand.
Starmer spoke at a news conference with the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz after the two met in Berlin earlier in the day.
In den kommenden Monaten werden wir gemeinsam auf einen Vertrag hinarbeiten, der die ganze
Growth is the #1 mission.
The leaders discussed a joint action plan to tackle illegal migration as well as how to build on defence agreements between the two countries. Meanwhile, Starmer made it clear that Britain has no plans to negotiate a youth mobility scheme with the EU to get better Brexit terms. He says he will not take the UK back into the bloc's single market. Prime Minister Starmer will head to Paris next for the Paralympics opening ceremony. He will also hold talks with the French President Emmanuel Macron. All right, for the very latest on this, we're now being joined by Stuart Smith from London. And Stuart, well, Keir Starmer there on a diplomatic spree of trying to, assuage some of those political decisions of the past government. This is also important. EU is an important bloc for the UK. Tell us more about his trip.
Yeah, a reset is how he's describing it. Not just a reset with the European Union, but specifically with individual countries as well, which is why he's headed to Berlin, where Olaf Scholz sounded in a press conference earlier, the Chancellor of Germany, happy to get on board with that plan. He's been looking at Keir Starmer for a change in relations to make it a clear difference between the previous Conservative government, especially that of Boris Johnson, who helped lead the UK to a conclusion on Brexit, getting the treaty signed that needed to be done so in order to be able to say that he got Brexit done. Keir Starmer now trying to paint a picture of a UK and EU in closer cooperation, but without violating any of the, first of all, existing treaties, but also not setting off the many people in the UK government and in the UK who would feel any closeness with the EU could be interpreted as trying to get back into the European Union. Now, Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, is very clear on this before the election and again on Wednesday that there is no attempt here to rejoin the customs union or to rejoin the European Union, but it is an attempt to try and work more closely with neighbours, particularly for Keir Starmer on issues of illegal migration. Germany says it's willing to work with the UK on that as well, but also this bilateral agreement, which is due to be, according to Keir Starmer, finished by the end of the year, would touch on trade and defence as well.
Yeah, Stuart, on that trade and defence, of course, this is coming at a critical time, given that there will be a new US president, and the relationship with NATO will be redefined by the new US presidency. And these are the two largest Western European countries, France and Germany. And of course, Starmer wants those defence ties to be watertight.
Yeah, and there's an interesting difference between France and Germany when it comes to, for example, supporting Ukraine. While the Prime Minister on Wednesday and the Chancellor of Germany were both keen to talk as if they were in lockstep on issues related to Ukraine, one consideration is that Germany and the United States, for example, do not want Ukraine to have the ability to strike deep into Russian territory, whereas France and the UK are willing to unofficially let that happen. It's something that was put to the UK Prime Minister earlier and something that he avoided in relation to this particular bilateral agreement. While the UK and Germany say they are neither of them have no new decisions and have no changes of policy to announce on Ukraine, it is believed it is something that was discussed, which is how can the UK use its Storm Shadow missiles developed with France to help Ukraine, while at the same time not potentially provoke Russia by firing them or allowing Ukraine to fire them into Russian territory. But no progress seemingly on that one with Chancellor Scholz today. The focus on illegal migration and that new bilateral agreement.
Right, Stuart. Thanks very much for joining us with the very latest there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.